Alright, welcome everyone and a very good evening to WOR Season 16 PC Tier 4, where tonight it's time for round 10 out of 11 with a potential championship deciding night here. I am definitely looking forward to a race here in Austria. I'll be your host for tonight. My name is Sky and I'll be running the stream for you solo tonight. So I'll try to do my best to give you all the insights, all the information on the drivers, and of course the play-by-play commentary with a little bit of tactical insight on the go. As already mentioned, tonight is a pretty important night because tonight at round 10 here in Austria at Spielberg, the championship can be decided because our championship leader Daniel Gottschalk is 27 points clear from his two remaining competitors. Those are Luke Wallstow for Haas and Mikolaj Nowicki in the Red Bull. They are both on 104 points. It means that tonight, if they do not score enough points, they will not be in for a shot to win the championship, which means they need to outscore Daniel Gottschalk by at least 2 points to keep themselves in the fight and be there for the championship battle in China. In case Daniel finishes ahead of them, or if the drivers don't outscore Daniel by 2 points, then we have the championship decided at the drivers. Constructors, slightly different. Mercedes also leading there, 204 points. Pairing of Daniel Gottschalk and Silly Sly Guy followed closely behind the Haas team, 180 points, 24 points clear from them. And then in P3, still mathematically possible, Mikolaj Nowicki, Akim Lai, 141 points, but with 63 points in 2 races to go, like I said, it's still possible. You can obtain 86 points in 2 races if you finish 1-2s and the other drivers don't score points. But likely after tonight, we're going to see that gap diminished. And in case Mercedes does outperform Haas significantly tonight, that we might see a constructor winner out there tonight as well. Otherwise, we're going to see that next week, Monday, when we head to China. But the main fight tonight, as I mentioned, for the driver standing. So keep an eye out for Daniel Gottschalk, Luke Wallstow, and Mikolaj Nowicki. For the drivers that will be out here tonight, just to quickly name all the drivers. For Red Bull, we'll have Mikolaj Nowicki, Akim Lai. Ferrari is the pairing of Noé Grosjean and Frank Turner. Mercedes shows up with Daniel Gottschalk and Silly Sly Guy. Alpine as German Polyakov and stand-in Pablo Alcoba. McLaren driving with Tomasz Kenny and Alu. Alfa Romeo, it's Pulkis and Carson F1. Aston Martin will be participating with Patrick Dachmeyer and Tars Danny. Haas has Marco Gurczyk and Luke Wallstow. For AlphaTauri, we see Maciej Lutinsky and Golgi. And then finally for Williams, I'm not 100% sure if Alex Schreinemakers is here. If not, it will be... No, Jay Kennedy is actually filling in for Alpine. Not sure if that's for German Polyakov or Pablo Alcoba. And it looks like Thomas Grard will be driving the Williams. So, yeah, see, so you will send in. And it looks like Pablo is indeed not driving. So that is why. So a few substitutes in there. But our 3 championship protagonists will be out there tonight. All right. The drivers gave me the heads up that we are going to get started, so I am quickly going to check the lobby, and if we are indeed about to start, we have 19 drivers in the lobby. So yeah, indeed, Thomas Grard for Williams is there. And for the Alpine, we find Jay Kennedy, and I don't see the other driver yet. Let me just quickly take a look if I can. I am still spectating. Herman Polyakov is there, so that is not the issue. Then, is it one of the Alfa Romeos? No, we have all Alfa Romeos. Alpha Tauris are all there. Can't see on first sight who are missing. Maybe a Ferrari. No, Ferrari drivers all there. So as soon as all the drivers are ready up, we'll be heading into the race for tonight. As I mentioned, we're going to the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria. This track's 4.3 kilometers long or 2.7 miles, if you want to have it in metric numbers. The lap record was set in 2020 for Carlos Sainz when he was still driving for McLaren, so 105.619. And it's a circuit with 3 DRS zones, one at the start-finish, one after turn 1, and one after turn 3. There's also 65 meters change in elevation, so it's quite going up and down, bit of a Mickey Mouse circuit, and the race was before featured on 2 seasons, was featured twice on the calendar, namely as the Austrian and the Styrian Grand Prix. And the most victories to any driver out here go to Max Verstappen. He's won the Grand Prix 4 times. What we are going to be focused on is who wins here for PC Tier 4. I'll be switching to the in-game view so we can all see that. The drivers are still loading in, but that will give us enough time as soon as it flicks over. There it is. To qualifying, which will start in about 10 seconds from now. Now, qualifying means we have 18 minutes. The drivers will be going for 3 runs as they normally will. But because this track is very prone to track limit exceedings, we might see some drivers go in and out a little bit more often. So the track limits is something we will be eyeing on. So if you see on the mini-map, the track's all in red. That means we have track limits and there's rain! It is raining in Austria and we're about to have a wet quali. Now this is going to be exciting. Now I'm super curious to see who's going to come out and win. Are the drivers going to wait, knowing that the rain will intensify, or drivers going to stay in the box? I already see some drivers heading out. I see a Red Bull come by. So the Williams of Raymond de Niet getting ready too, but I'm not sure he has actually exited a pit, so we don't see that in spectator cam, but he is out. So we'll be following Raymond as he comes around the track. It looks fairly damp if we zoom in. Oh, he's actually still on soft, so he thinks he can manage it on the softs going for an early run. This might be a risky move, but I don't know. DRS is still there, so that would mean that DRS is the ideal thing to have. Now, Luke Walstow, he is out on softs as well. Mikolaj Nowicki out on softs. So the drivers coming out now think, hey, we can do this on softs. Now, Akim Lai has left the pits. He is on softs as well. We have, now I believe that's an Alfa Romeo leaving the pits. That is Ake Polkinen. And he is also on softs. The other driver is still staying in, although I see a bit of movement in the pit box. But this is going to be super exciting. Looks like Mikolaj Nowicki has picked up the most pace, so he wants to get his lap done and dusted as quickly as he can. But remember, if the rain intensifies and he sets a good enough lap, then this could be enough to take pole position straight up. He has a very good exit out of turn 10. That is the Red Bull Mobile Curve. And we're now heading into corner 1 uphill, into the Niki Lauda curve that is called. Going a little bit wide there over the curves, but not picking up any track limit warnings or penalties. So that is good. Now making his way onto Remes as a turn 2 and 3 all in one, as he sets a first sector of 16.8, which is still fairly strong. Now DRS zone, second DRS zone of the track. Heading down, this is a difficult corner. Downhill braking into Schlossgold. This is a track where you can easily overshoot, but we see Mikolaj keeping it on track nicely. Now into turns 5 and 6, that is Rauch. Taking it simple there, not too many issues. 47.6 so far. Now through 7 and 8, that is Worth. Before preparing for turn 9, that is Rindt, named after late F1 driver Joachim Rindt, only posthumous F1 champion. Sadly passed away in the Italian Grand Prix back in the year he was crowned champion. Mikolaj Nowicki, however, first one to set a lap time here tonight. That is a 1:08.1. And now the big question is what happens to the rain, because it looks like it's drying up. I don't see any further wet spots, so I don't think it's about to get worse. Luke Walstow, in the meantime, has gone quicker. Akim Lai is on a quick lap. His first sector was a 16.8. He's now 47.5. That is a bit quicker than his teammate was. But he did go a little bit wide into Worth. So is he fast enough? Coming around turn 9 and 10. Final corner now. Don't pick up your track limits there. Good exit. Akim Lai coming round in a 1.83. Losing a little bit of time in the last sector there. Means that he is P3 for the time being. 2 more drivers out there on track. Carson F1, but also Thomas Grar. Thomas is actually behind him. So Carson F1 the first, but looked like some drivers came in. Acapulco notably came into the pits. And I think Raymond Niet also came in. Now Carson F1 is at a 48.1, so he won't be contesting that pole position for now, unfortunately. Thomas Grard on the other end, a very good first sector. It's 3/10 quicker than all of the other competitors. And now with a 47.4 is also a 10th quicker than we saw Akim Lai do with. He has a better turn 7 and 8, so should be eyeing to get near that time that Mikolaj Nowicki set just earlier on. But looks like the rain, at least at the last bit of the circuit, is picking up, goes off the track, doesn't pick up track limit penalty, and does help him out a lot because he's in P2. Good lap for Thomas Grard. He's lucky that this is the game, because if this was the real world, then he definitely would have gotten a track limit penalty. Now we have a bit of time to relax. I see a Ferrari leaving the pit box, and that is Noe Grosjean. He's also coming out on the soft, so I think the drivers do believe that it is, at least weather-wise, still good enough to come out now. But with so many drivers staying in, I think they're expecting the weather to tone down a bit and open up opportunities later on down the line. That means we have a bit of time to wind down and to look at what is all happening. We still have 12 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock, so 5.5 minutes, half past. 5 drivers set a lap time, few drivers came into the pits, and currently 1 driver out there on track, although Carson F1 has stayed out, and is he going for a faster run? He's now 3/10s down, but with his ERS fully depleted, I can't imagine he's going again, but I think he just improved his lap time by about a 10th, so he went for 2 runs in a row. That shows that the track is getting a little bit better, perhaps when the tires are on the right temperature, that you can go a little bit quicker. I know Grosjean definitely heating up his tires. We're going to go on board with the Ferrari driver as he makes his way onto turn 9. Yeah, this is where you want to speed up. ERS has already been enabled. Not the best sorts of exits out of turn 10, but we're going to get started anyways. Noe Grosjean with his lap around the Red Bull Ring. Keeping it very clean there to turn 1, but yeah, we can see now with the onboard view, the track really is drying up, and I think this is why the drivers have been waiting. The track is starting to get better, and Noe Grosjean shows that with a very good first sector. It's a 16.4. That's the fastest we've seen all the drivers do. Most notably, it's 4/10 quicker than we saw Mikolaj Nowicki do. So if that shows the pace that he can have, that means he should be on for a provisional pole lap for the time being. But all the other drivers still have to come out, though it is going to be the lap that all these drivers will need to be. But knowing that the lap record in the race is a 105.6, even though it was the old generation car. But look at that, 45.9. That is significantly quicker. That's over a 1.5 seconds quicker than Mikolaj Nowicki did earlier on. So Noe Grosjean definitely on for a 105 if he can keep it up in the last sector. Keeps it. Oh, track limits in the final quarter. That was a 105.5. That was a great run, but track limits, so it won't count. And this is something that we're going to see many, many times here tonight. More drivers now exiting the pits, so it really shows track's dry. This is our time to go. And that means the remaining 10 minutes will show the full action of quali. Perhaps we'll miss 1 run because of the rain, but that still means there are 2 runs to go for the other drivers. And with the time that Noe Grosjean does have, I think he has enough time left to go for 2 extra runs. Yeah, now we see more drivers exiting the pits. We have Thomas Grard out, Frank Turner following, Alu is out, German Polyakov is out, Jake Kennedy is out. He changed his name to Herman. I'm not sure if we're pronouncing his name wrong, but he wants us to say, because I believe you pronounce it the German way, it's Herman Polyakov, but I'm not entirely sure how we are supposed to pronounce it. So just go with English way as Frank Turner makes his way down. Oh, look at that. That's a 16-0. That is the fastest first sector we have seen so far. And he is a bit quicker than his teammate Noah Grosjean was earlier on. Remember, with track limits, that was a 105.5. So Frank Turner definitely looking to snatch that provisional pole away by almost 3 seconds. That is a lot, of course, with the wet weather. That is something that you're going to see. Daniel Gottschalk, our championship leader, is still in the pits. Let's hope Frank Turner doesn't run into traffic, because it's very easy to run into traffic here with drivers up ahead being fairly slow, but good braking there from the Alpine driver. Now Frank Turner, final corner, has a good corner. Doesn't take too much risk, doesn't need to, and that is one hell of a lap. That's a 103.976. The first driver to go through the 104 barrier, but he is faster by 4 seconds compared to all the other drivers. But I think more drivers will have something to say about that. We're now on board with Alu, as he is at a 44.5, so that is about 3 seconds quicker than Mikolaj Nowicki was. So also on his way for a 104 high, I think, but that would not be enough to beat Frank Turner's time. Herman Polyakov has come round. He is 19,000 slower. Here comes Alu, and he's quicker, actually a lot quicker. Perfect last sector. That's a 103.6, a 3/10 quicker than Frank Turner. Absolute great lap coming out there from him. Now we have 2 more drivers out there on track. Jay Kennedy is out, Maciej Lutinsky out on a fast lap, but also Raymond Leni, Daniel Baumgartner, who have started a lap. But we are on board with Jay Kennedy as he's about to come round turn 9 for his first flyer. Keeps it tight, no track limits, and comes round. It's a 103.8, so that is provisional P2 for the time being. Then Maciej Lutinsky. Looks like a purple second sector, but we did not see his sector time, so we can't know around which position he's going to come out. As we see Thomas Grard in the meantime set a lap time identical to Frank Turner. Maciej Lutinsky goes quickest. He's at a 103.605. Great lap for him. And we have a collision between silly sly guy Daniel Baumgartner. Daniel was on a fast lap, is off the track, has DNF'd even. So something will be said about that. We're going to hear about that later. Patrick Dagmar on a fast lap. Tomas Kokeni on a fast lap. But Raymond Leni is the first one to come round. He sets a 104.1. Then was Akapulkin, and he goes quickest, and by quite a bit too. That is a 103.279. Great lap by Akapulkin. That really does bring in the question, how fast can the quickest drivers go? Can we go into the 102 zones? Now that would be quite something here tonight, as Patrick Dagmar briefly sets a purple second sector. But also with his sector times close to what Alu was able to do, is Tomas Kokeni goes second fastest with a 103.5. Ooh, Patrick Dagmar going off track. Yeah, that is not 1, but also 2 laps eliminated. He doesn't have ERS, but also does not have the exit to go for it again. Let's go on board then with our championship leader. This is the man who has all eyes on him tonight in Austria. He can bring in the title tonight, as his teammate Silly Sly Guy lets him by. So I think he might have invalidated. No, he just has decided to back out of that lap. Akim Lai currently 3rd fastest. He improves. Daniel Gottschalk 44.2. That is quicker again than Maciej Lutinsky, and by over 3/10. So he's getting very close to that pole time that Akapulkin put out. Now, final corner, full risk. Good throttling. Daniel Gottschalk. That is not enough for provisional pole, but that is 16 thousandths of a second off. Great run by the man leading the championship, and his competitor Luke Walstow puts the car in between them. 7 thousandths of pole and 9 thousandths ahead of Daniel Gottschalk. Now Goji crossed the line. Now he's just about to start his lap. So still to start, Mikolaj Nowicki is on a lap. But how much quicker is he? 2.6 seconds so far. This would be on for a 105 mid. But, of course, that final sector is still time to improve. But it looks like Mikolaj has decided not to. He's going to come into the pits. Allow himself enough time for a final lap, a final push lap. But with the drivers being all over the place, it's not going to be easy to keep track of who's on a fast lap and who is not. Daniel Baumgartner has left the session. I think we're going to have a lobby restart after this later on. Silly Sly Guy has also retired. That is not good news for him, but I think that might be due to the contact that he had with Daniel in that quali run earlier on. But in the meantime, we have our eyes on Goji coming around the final 2 corners. Can he keep it in the lines? He can as Daniel rejoins Goji now. It's a lap time 103.8. Does improve. Puts himself on a provisional P10 for the time being. Then Alu, very fast first sector, 10th and a half up on his own provisional best. That would be enough for a P4 at the time being. So a good 3-place improvement, but can he go even quicker? 2/10s now as he comes around the second sector. Purple second sector for Alu. How much more to gain is there in the final sector? Gonna come around now. We'll go on board. Very good entry into turn 10. And he comes round. More improvements, but no further place improvements. 103.362. Another good lap by the McLaren drivers. Frank Turner slumps himself in between himself and his teammate Tomas Kokeni. Of course, his Alu's teammate. Goji's still out. All the other drivers are in the pits. And by the looks of it, an Aston Martin, that is Patrick Dachmeyer, is now leaving the pits. 2:45 left on the clock. The drivers are getting ready for their third and final runs. Of course, not for all the drivers out here tonight. It will be a third lap. Most of the drivers have done only one. That was due to the rain we had at the start of the session, which meant most of the drivers almost missed half of the session waiting for the rain to clear. And indeed, it is dry now in Spielberg. But can the drivers keep it on track? That is the big call. Mikolaj Nowicki knows he's got some showing to do. He did not set a lap after his lap out in the wet, which means that if he gets track limits, he will have to start from almost the back of the grid. And because he's still within championship fight, he cannot afford to do that whatsoever. So after Patrick sets his lap time, we're quickly going to go on board with Mikolaj to see how he's faring. Ahead of him is Luke Walstow, also one of his championship competitors. He's currently in P2. Behind him is Daniel Gottschalk. He is leaving some space now, but I think he wants to put himself behind the McLaren even. Put himself in a good position, good open space to go for a run. So have a few drivers in the pit. That is Carson F1, Noe Grosjean, Frank Turner, and Alu. I don't think they're going to be coming out either. They don't have time. So here we go. Oh, it's track limits for Patrick Dachmeyer. That is track limits before he starts his lap. But he has time remaining. He has 1:13 left on the clock. So if he doesn't go too slow, he can still do it. Alu is retired from the session. Frank Turner is retired from the session. They won't be doing an extra lap. But that is not the way Patrick Dachmeyer wanted to start. So instead, we go on board with Herman Polyakov as he comes round the track. He's going for his third run, I believe, here tonight. The aboard one earlier on. And now down the straight, first sector. That is quite a bit quicker. That's over a 10th faster. So on for a 103.8. That's already enough to push himself from P13 to P9. So definitely improvements are there to be made for Herman. If he keeps it between the lines, does so through turn 4. Clean running through Schlossgold into Rauch. Keeps it clean without any Rauch, no smoke. And that, oh, look at that, very good middle sector, 2.5 tenths now quicker. Now he's getting closer to the lap time that Maciej Lutinsky put out there. Noe Grosjean was still on an out lap, but he has to start. He just starts in time. So all of our drivers out there on track will have a lap time. Herman Polyakov, first one across the line. That's a 1:03.6. And that slots him just behind Maciej Lutinsky. But we want to see what Mikolaj Nowicki is doing. He is quite a bit quicker in the first sector. Still behind a couple of the drivers. But he has the most improvements to make. 3.2 seconds currently up. That's for a 104 something. That's not enough yet, but we know that in the final sector, there's more than a second to gain after that wet run. As Daniel Gottschalk, our championship leader, puts the car on provisional pole. Can Mikolaj keep it between the lines? He does. Is it quicker? Is it quicker for Mikolaj? It is not. That is P6 for Mikolai Nowicki with still some drivers out there on track. Aka Pulkkinen sets provisional pole. Luke Walstow is aboard this lap. He won't go any quicker. Noe Grosjean is the last one out. Goji now coming across the line, but does not improve on his lap time. Patrick Dackmeyer, however, is quicker. But how much quicker is he? He comes round at a 103.4. That is P11 for him. And with all drivers across the line, it's pole position for Aka Pulkkinen. But great work from our championship leader, Daniel Gottschalk, who puts that car on P2 and in front of both of his competitors, with his championship competitors being P3 and P7. But here are full results. Aka Pulkkinen 103.052, a 10th quicker than Daniel Gottschalk, and then the gaps are fairly significant for such a short track, so great job by Aka. P2, Daniel, as we mentioned, Luke Walstow there for P3. Then it's the McLaren pairing, Tomasz Kokeni and LOP 4 and 5. Then the AlphaTauri ahead of the Red Bull. Maciej Latinsky ahead of Mikolai Nowicki. Thomas Grard, our substitute driver, P8. Akim Lai, the second Red Bull, P9. And our first Ferrari we find in P10. And then we have Patrick Dackmeyer, Jay Kennedy, Raymond de Niet, Herman Poliakov, Noé Grosjean, Goji, Carson F1, Daniel Baumgartner. And the last driver, unfortunately, unable to catch. But I believe the last two that we were still seeing there were Daniel Baumgartner and Silly Sly Guy. We're seeing what is happening. Maciej Latinsky was asking if we're getting a restart or not. But by the looks of it, we are not getting a restart. There was contact between the drivers in the back, which means Daniel Baumgartner has not set a lap time. Silly Sly Guy hasn't set a lap time either. He had that contact with Daniel. And there was 5-place grid penalty given for that. But I think because it was an actual incident, we're not going to have a restart. So as soon as our drivers are loaded in, we'll be on our way with the race. Alright, I've had a sip of my drink, so I am more than ready to go, but we still have about 20 seconds before we are going to get started. And once we do, we have a potential championship deciding race in our hands. Remember, Daniel Gottschalk, 27 points clear of both Mikolai Nowicki and Luke Walstow. If he keeps that gap over 25 points, it is done and dusted after the race tonight. And with the recent performance that Daniel has put up, it is definitely possible that he can seal the deal tonight and bring home that WOR PC Tier 4 championship. There's of course still half an hour to go as our lights come on with 3, 4, and 5 red lights. And we're on our way. Very quick lights off as we have a good start by Aka Pulkkinen, more than enough to keep his car just ahead of Daniel Gottschalk. But Daniel wants to dive into the inside, takes a lot of risk for the championship leader, and Luke Walstow is going to profit off of that, and he has already passed Daniel. Now a good run down into turn 3, but I think Luke is not going to contest that. Daniel, however, on the inside already fighting with everyone that he can, but does keep that car just ahead. Let's see the position changes that we've had so far, and that's most notably for Noe Grosjean, who's picked out. Look at that, 3 wide almost as they go. But Aka driving a different line, making sure to stay out of the fight, and Tomasz Kokeni has taken a position. Oh, Tomasz, what are you doing? Very risky move on the inside of Daniel, but takes it in front of him. Tomasz Kokeni, 2 positions gained. Patrick Dackmeyer, also 3 positions gained. As we have at the back, Daniel Baumgartner, Silly Sly Guy, after not being able to set a time in quali, already making up a position each at the back of the grid. Now we have 36 laps for the full race here tonight. And it looks like some of our drivers have started on the hards, including driver in the lead. And here we have our tires. Most drivers indeed on the hards. 4 drivers out there on mediums. That is Tomasz Kokeni for McLaren, as Herman Poliakov has managed to put a penalty for track limits in after just over a lap, and Tomasz Kokeni on the mediums taking the race lead for the time being. Now Jay Kennedy was also on mediums together with Silly Sly Guy and Carson F1, so they all have The most making up to do at the start of the race. As we see on the inside, Luke Walstow fighting with Alu. We have fighting all over. This is really, really getting exciting. Let's go on board with Alu as he's fighting with Luke Walstow. As for Petronas 34 in the chat, yes, there is still Console League. So definitely make sure to check out our Discord at WOR so you can see for which seasons you can sign up for this season. Season 16 will have its finale next week. So if you do prepare well, you might be able to get started with that sooner than later. Now our gaps, everyone's still within DRS range. Jay Kennedy getting awfully close to Akim Lai up ahead. But we are still watching Alu as he was fighting Luke Walstow earlier on. Looks like Acapulco already decided that he finds it okay. Oh, late dive! He keeps it on track. Very risky move by Alu. Braked so much later, almost too late compared to Luke Walstow. That does manage to avoid contact there. And that, I think, is the most impressive thing about this almost nosedive into a true nightmare by Alu. So great job by him. In the meantime though, Silly Sly Guy is starting to pick up the pace. Picked up 5 men already. Remember, he's on the mediums. He needs to move up positions. And not for too long ago, this was a man who was fighting for the title. This was a man who was fighting for the championship, and unfortunately, due to some inconsistency, a lot of DNFs on his part means that he's no longer in the running to take that title, but still can seal the deal for the constructors tonight. They score enough points together with Daniel. And he's already moving towards the inside of the Alpha Tauri and gets past Golgi, who is not going to contest that. Knows that the driver on the mediums is going to be much quicker, and already with that better exit, he sees 2 drivers up ahead. Herman Polyakov, Thomas Grard fighting for that P11. So he knows he can get closer. Just keep it clean, keep it right, and you'll be able to go for some overtakes. In the meantime, we'll have some eyes on Akim Lai as Thomas Grard has gotten the move done on the Alpine of Herman. Akim Lai now slowly falling behind Jay Kennedy a little bit. Alu once again amping up the pace to Luke Walstow ahead. The gaps are super tight. Nobody wants to fall out of DRS range, and nobody is doing so for the time being. Silly Sly Guy though getting awfully close to Herman. So I think we will want to follow that fight, because a good exit round turn 1, that should be enough. Has to use a little bit of overtake, does use that a little bit, but can he go for a double overtake? Can he go from a left to right switch? He does look at the inside, late braking, great move by Silly Sly Guy, but Thomas is staying around the outside. Can he keep it though? The next corner is to the right, and I think Thomas also realizes that, and he's gonna let Silly Sly Guy go. Knows there's no need to hold him off because he is on the softer rubber. So he's going to keep that car in front of him. Further up ahead, we haven't seen too many changes. Tomas Kokeni still leading in front of Acapulco, Daniel Gottschalk, Luke Walstow, and Alu. So that has remained unchanged. Mikolaj Nowicki makes his way up into P6, which means that our championship competitors are all within top 6. Remember, it's still 3 drivers, but as it stands now, Daniel Gottschalk would seal the title with a couple of points ahead of Luke Walstow and still a race to go. So far, nothing to worry about for Daniel. His teammate, however, does have some more overtaking to do if he wants to put that Mercedes in the points. And I am going to take a quick look at Raymond Denis, because he is here now around the inside of Golgi. Almost make contact through turn 3. And when they're barreling down the straight, going down the hill, he has gotten the pass on onto Golgi. A better exit through Remus means that into Schlossgold, he can dive it down the inside and make that move for P15 stick. Good job by the Williams driver. Now that means a Ferrari is the next man for him to hunt down. We move up the order to Jay Kennedy, as he is getting awfully close to Patrick Dackmeyer. Let's go on board with Jay, as he has a little bit of a wobble, a little bit of oversteer. He had to correct there down in turn 10. But that does not matter. A good exit in turn 1 is enough to get closer. The exit doesn't seem to be enough, as Noe Grosjean gets a penalty for 3 seconds for track limits. And Aka Pulkkinen has retaken the race lead. Oh, late braking! Once again, the medium runners really try to outbrake the hard runners. But can Jay still make the move stick? Has to use a bit of ERS if he wants to make the move. But he's going to stay behind for the time being. Oh, a little slide to the outside for Patrick Dackmeyer. They almost make contact, and they're still pretty much side by side, but Patrick is going to concede. Good move by Jay Kennedy, and very careful there, waiting for the move, but does make it stick after that slight mistake by Patrick. And also up ahead, Luke Wolstow has gotten past Tomas Kokenyi, so it looks like this medium runner is starting to fall back a bit. Now, back with our championship leader. He's getting closer to Alu, just lost the position to Alu in the previous lap. I know that good exit is enough, but that was not a good exit for Tomas Kokenyi. So Tomas already dropped down by 1, but is also going to be sent back to P5. Remember, a lap ago, he was still leading the race. Down the inside now. A move by Daniel. We're seeing so much action out here tonight in Austria. This is exactly why you want Austria on the calendar. Great racing. A little bit of ERS to defend for Daniel as he makes the overtake onto P3. Goes a little wide into Schlossgold, but it's enough to keep that P3 for him. Now, Nikolai Nowicki also gone past Tomas Kokenyi. It looks like Tomas has got a bit of an issue. I'm not sure if he's through his tires already. He's definitely struggling to stay ahead of the hard runners. Remember, he's one of the 4 medium runners out there, together with Jay Kennedy, Silly Sly Guy, and our last driver. I have to check real quick. Carson F1 is in the back of the grids. So Carson hasn't been able to make the best use out of that yet. We're going to look at tire life now, because in a couple of laps that is going to start becoming important. But I think the medium runners will want to sit it out till about lap 15, 16 before they're going to come in for the hards. Because remember, the other drivers out here are going to switch for mediums later on. As we see in Alpine, that's Jay Kennedy dive to the inside. Matthew Lutinsky being sent back. Patrick Dackmeyer also moving up a position. Good overtakings being done here, all the way out on the track. And now Silly Sly Guy wants to have a little bit of a look at what Akim Lai is doing. And he has not been able to move further up the grid compared to what he was earlier on. Jay now finds himself behind another medium runner. Now Tomas Kokenyi. Let's see if he can pick up the pace again and stay within reach of the hard runners up in front. Maciej Lutinsky, Akim Lai, dangerously close to Patrick up ahead. That is Maciej Lutinsky going off, and that is a retiree. That is a big crash, and that's a safety car. Safety car, safety car, safety car. Lap 10, and the drivers yet to come across the line. Could go into the pits, but have not done so. They were too close to one another. Now we're going to have to see if tactics are going to come into play. This is potentially good news for the medium runners. If they come in now, they might be able to hang it out there on the hards till the end of the race. You will save yourself a pit stop, but is that enough to stay ahead till the end of the race? That is the big question. But we can also see offset strategies now, because the hard runners can decide, let's go for softs, and then maybe a run on mediums or softs yet again. Fully push it out there. For the drivers that are going to do the one stop onto hards now, put them under pressure still. But I think something like that will happen more towards the grid. I don't think most of our drivers will be coming in. A driver that might come in, though, is Tomas. Tomas Kokenyi had some issues managing those mediums earlier on. I don't think he was too far off a pit stop. And actually, is he going to stay? He's actually... okay, he stays out. So, out of all the drivers I would predict to come in, he's one of the few drivers staying out. So, Tomas doesn't come in. Akim Lai doesn't come in. The rest of the grid, all in the pits. So most of these drivers are going to go for a two-stopper, I feel. Most coming out on the mediums. The medium runners, of course, going to hards. Goji going to the softs. So yeah, he's going to go for that soft or soft medium run. Carson on the hards as well. He doesn't need to come in. Silly Sly Guy hards. He doesn't need to come in. Jay Kennedy doesn't need to come in either. The other drivers in the mediums, I can't see them make it last for 25 laps. That is a tough ask, even around such a short track. But very, very interesting decision by Tomasko Kenny. If he sees all the drivers up ahead coming into the pits, you would want to come in as well. So this is far from ideal for him. And yeah, if he comes in now, he's going to join the race at the back of the grid. Then again, though, if he had made the pit stop, he would have to wait for Aloe, his teammate, was just up ahead. And then, as a result, be sent back further to grid. The safety car already in this lap. That is early! We barely had a lap behind it. I have never seen the safety car come in this early. That is quite peculiar, but we're going to resume. Everyone has caught up, though. And Tomas will be leading the way. So if he thought, hey, I'm going to go for a pit stop later on, that is now thrown out of the window. Let's see when he is going to apply throttle. He does so just before turn 10, and that's probably the best way to do it. But behind him, Akim is going to be under a lot of pressure earlier on, and I wonder how long he can hold off the medium runners with the fresh rubber under their car. He might already have to concede here on the first long straight, heading into turn 3, which is Remus. He's not going to make a move for the time being, but look at that exit. So much more powerful for Ake. On the inside now. Has to use ERS if he wants to make that move stick. Uses a little bit and has already gotten by Akim. So I wonder what the strategy for Akim is going to be. Because also down the inside we have Luke Wallstow come by. I'm not sure if there's any rain in the horizon, which is maybe why he's waiting. But seeing how far he's already lost, it looks like the tactic that he's decided on is not working out for him. And yet Tamaz is going to be the next target. He's going to be the next man to fall. But yeah, Akim dropped from P2 to P7 in a lap. No DRS even. As Jay Kennedy picks up a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Patrick also gone by him. But now Tamas is going to be under pressure. And seemingly too much. Using some ERS to defend. But there's no way to hold off the advancing Acapulcan, and I don't think he's going to try an outbreak. Does stay around the inside. It's very brave. But with the exits, not going to have enough speed to keep it there, as we see. Oh, that's a risky move from our championship leader. Brakes super late. Does avoid contact with Tamas, and is going to put his Mercedes into P3. Alu now also getting by his teammate Tamas. Yeah, Tamas now is going to fall prey to Mikolaj Nowicki, and not too long from now, Tamas really dropping down the order. His tires are pretty much done for, and he can only pray there's going to be another safety car in the next lap or two. DRS is going to be re-enabled now. And that means he's going to be under more and more pressure as time progresses. Kima's dropped to P10. Tamas is now going to drop back at least another position, perhaps 2 around the main straight. He does not have those fresh tires. Here comes Patrick down the inside and into Remus. Ooh, almost overshoots, but does make the move stick onto Tamas. Herman then gone past Akim 2. Silly Sly Guy starting to pick up some positions also. He's now in P14, but look at the fights here. Oh, contact! Contact with Silly Sly Guy. It's a time penalty for Thomas Grard. Daniel Baumgartner once again finds Silly Sly Guy out there on the track. I'm not entirely sure what exactly caused the incident, but I think there doesn't seem to be damage, at least for now, for the Mercedes, but definitely one car out there received some damage And I think it's a Ferrari by Frank Turner who's driving a little bit slower. But I think he and likely Daniel are going to come into the pits. Yeah, Daniel's got damage. Frank perhaps a little bit as well, as Mikolaj Nowicki's now set the fastest lap time, but under heavy pressure by Patrick Dackmeyer. The top 6 got a little bit of a gap to him. He switches to mediums. I think he reckons he can make it to the end on this set of tires. Daniel has decided to go for softs, has retired as well. This is a weekend to forget for Daniel. Taken out in quali, and then again involved in contact, lap 14, out of this race. Now then, let's see what can Alu do against our championship leader. Remember, as it stands, Luke Walstow will score 3 more points than Daniel, which means that the point deficit goes down from 27 to 24, meaning that Daniel does not secure the title tonight. So this is a very, very important position for Luke to be in. But can he hold off an advancing Daniel? That is going to be the main question. We're almost half distance now, folks. In the meantime, in the chat, let us know who do you think is going to win this race. Because as it stands, our top 6 really in contention for the race win. So Akka Pulkkinen, Luke Walstow, Daniel Gottschalk, Alu, Mikolaj Nowicki, and Patrick Dackmeyer. Let us know who your favorite is. So that gives me a little opportunity to take a sip as Jay Kennedy has retaken P7 from Noé Grosjean. But yeah, no DRS up front, which means it's going to be hard to keep cars behind, and you're going to just be leapfrogging one another as Frank Turner picks up a 3-second time penalty from track limits, already at the back of the grid, so that is not looking good for him. Silly Sly Guy also has quite a deficit to go by, as to make up 5.5 seconds to Carson F1 up ahead, and on this track, that is quite a distance to cover. But I think Luke Walstow starting to get ready to overtake Akka Pulkkinen. The gap now under 3/10, and with DRS, and no DRS for the Alfa Romeo up ahead means that Luke has enough speed to go by. Is he gotta go by though? He is not going to try. Keeps that Haas behind because he knows I don't need to outpush him. I can just stay within the DRS train and make use of that later on. Save a bit of tires. Maybe help myself out towards the latter bit of the race. The only thing he has to watch out for is that he doesn't slam into the back of that Alfa Romeo. Mikolaj Nowicki, in the meantime, is feeling the hot breath of Patrick Dackmeyer, almost getting by him in Schlossgold, but stays ahead, and getting now through Worth means that he stays ahead and keeps that Red Bull just ahead of him. Let's not forget we're fighting 2 championship battles here tonight. Not only are we fighting the battle for the championship winner, the Drivers' Championship between Daniel, Luke, and Mikolaj, we're also fighting the constructor battle, which is still between Red Bull, Haas, and Mercedes. But after tonight, very likely that fight is going to be just between Haas and Mercedes. Red Bull at the moment some 43 points away from Mercedes. So unless they totally outscore the Mercedes pairing, it will not be possible for them to stay within that fight and take it to next week, when we're going to head to China, Shanghai International Circuit, with our season finale as we see Alu and Daniel fight heading into Rao. As a peculiar spot to go for an overtake. We saw Esteban Ocon do so earlier last year in the last race that we had there in the real world. It was a very nice overtake, a very daring move, and just made that stick. We've also seen in quali that is very easy to overstep there. I believe it was Lewis Hamilton who went wide there, either last year or the year before. But here comes Alu's really getting tucked in behind Daniel. But is it enough to go for an overtake? Both drivers have ERS and DRS enabled, mostly DRS enabled. As we see Tomas Kokenius come in for a pits. And Akim Lai also decided to make a stop. So Tamas has gotten his final pit stop. He's going to stay out. And Frank Turner picked up speed in the pit lane. That is another DNF. He has decided it's not going to work out for him tonight. It means that we have 16 drivers left for contention. And yeah, Akim, Tamas are definitely going to push it through till the end. But I'm curious about the medium runners. Can they make their tires last all the way to the end? Or do they need to come in again? Because I can imagine that Jay Kennedy, Carson F1, Silly Sly Guy are not going to be coming in one more time. Look at that, Alu really sneaking up on Daniel up ahead. That's a much better exit than Daniel had up ahead. This might be the moment that he could make a move stick, but a little bit of ERS usage from Daniel means that there's no need for him to worry about a potential move from the McLaren driver behind him. In the meantime, Raymond Neat has gone past Golgi, so Golgi's tires are starting to give way. But I wonder if he is going to come in. Whoa! What a dive from Alu as he gets the move onto Daniel Gottschalk, but that was some extremely late braking. Almost slammed into the Haas of Luke Wallstow. I'm not sure. I don't think he hit Daniel, but Daniel definitely had to take evasive action there. That, the real world, likely would have resulted in a 5-second time penalty. That is some dangerous, dangerous overtaking move. Forcing, well, not forcing another driver to the track, but forcing yourself to go by right between the lines of what's allowed and what's not allowed. In the meantime, Jay Kennedy is starting to crawl back to Patrick Dagmar, not within DRS range yet, but 1.5 seconds at least for the time being. But how much more pace does Alu have? We saw him just overtake Daniel in the Mercedes, but can he also get past Luke Walsall? We just saw him try into Schlosskol turn 4 last lap. Is he going to do that again? Down into turn 4 in lap 21. He's further behind, and he's not going to try. So keeps it behind for now, not trying to risk it. And it looks like our gaps across the board are starting to increase a little bit. Thomas Kenny actually is taking quite a chunk out of the gap he had to Silly Sly Guy. So that is good news for Thomas, who definitely has more pace and drives up ahead. Then again, he's got fresher tires, so that is going to help him, not only now, but also more towards the end of the race, although he does have quite a pack to still overtake. Hakim has the same thing, but I wonder how long these mediums can last, because I cannot imagine, at least for the time being, these drivers are going to come in and Silly Sly Guy picks up a 3-second time penalty for track limits. That is not what you want to see. And Luke Walsall actually has taken over the lead from Acapulco. It looks like he's decided it's enough, but that might also be because you have an Alu storming down the order and going for late move lunges into turn 4, and oh, close, very close, almost into the back of Acapulco. And I think this is what Luke Walsall is a little bit afraid of, and it's totally understandable that he wants to avoid that, because if he gets taken out, that means his championship hopes are officially down the gutter and into the bin. Love hearing those engine noises here, this time of that Mercedes engine back in that McLaren. But look at Jay Kennedy, he has really started to pick up the pace. He's getting very close to the medium runners up ahead. Has this strategy paid off as Golgi now comes in for 11 laps? Is he going to go for softs again, or is he going to go for a set of mediums? I think softs might be a good opportunity for him here, because he should be able to make those last, unless he wants to go for a clean move, as Acapulco has retaken the lead from Luke Walsall. Also doesn't want to be in that position. Frank Turner is rejoined, although he has DNF, and Golgi comes out on mediums. So he's going to try and do it that way. And he's got quite a gap still to Akim Lai, but towards the end of the race, he's going to have the fresher rubber, and that might pay dividends to him. Jay Kennedy has once again fallen back a little bit. That gap was 1.1, but yeah, with 3 DRS zones, it's also easy for that gap to increase, and increase. And yeah, in Sector 3, he can start to narrow that down. Also Sector 2 a little bit. He does bring it down significantly. Very much so. And Patrick Dakmeyer and Akapulkinen have come in. So we do have a two-stopper. We do have a two-stopper from the drivers coming in early. So this is good news for drivers that came in before. So for Silly Sly Guy, who's going to stay out likely. And also good news for Tomas Kokeni. So where, in comparison to Tomas Kokeni, are they going to come out? They will be ahead of Thomas. So it won't work out for Thomas. But Silly Sly Guy is a man that they do need to catch because he can likely stay out. Well, he does have a 3-second time penalty. That won't help him. Snowy Grosjean gets past Jay Kennedy into turn 4. They have almost caught up with Mikolai up ahead. And yeah, I think the other medium runners, they're going to come in. But if they can stay out a little bit longer, they can go for softs as well. Just like Thomas Grar did. So this is around the area where you can go for softs. You can make them last until the end, but do you want to risk it? Because after 10 laps, those mediums are going to be better. Mikolai Nowicki has decided to come in. He's following... He's the first of the championship fighters to come in, but he's the first one to follow former race leader Akapulkinen. And he indeed goes for softs. That might be a call for Luke and Daniel to do the same thing, and I can only imagine they come in after next lap. Their fight is not so much with the race win or the race lead. Their fight is with Daniel. They have to outscore Daniel or they are out of contention. So the best thing Daniel can do is to react. And Luke, well, he can decide if he wants to stay out just an extra lap longer and have fresher tires towards the end. So that is a gamble that he can take. We are watching Daniel Gottschalk. 11 laps to go. 11 laps before he's potentially crowned a WOR PC Tier 4 champion. And if not, we'll have to wait yet another week. He stays out for the time being. So he's not following what Mikolai is doing. So I guess he doesn't see Mikolai as a contestant for his race win. But we already see the medium runners on significantly faster pace. Silly Sly has overtaken Carson F1. But there is more and more fighting going on there. And I think Aka is getting very, very close. Dangerously close even for an overtake. As Daniel Gottschalk and Alu are fighting. And Daniel has gone past Alu into turn 3. But we are watching the provisional race leader. Now, actually, that might be Jay Kennedy. We don't know if Jay Kennedy is going to come in. Although one can imagine it might be better for... Well, he already has a 3-second time penalty. He has an 11 to 12 second gap to the drivers behind. So it might not be completely unthinkable to stay out if those hearts can last another 10 laps. You have about a second margin. But how clean can you keep it? Now, further up ahead, drivers, the top 3 stays out. Jay Kennedy stays out. Herman Polyakov stays out. Raymond Neat also staying out. By how much are they going to prolong their stint? Or are they going to keep the cars out and not go for an extra pit stop whatsoever? Mikolai Nowicki with the fastest lap down the inside for the race lead, the net race lead, is Daniel now. Overtake onto Luke Walstow. Alu immediately looking to come by. Maybe late braking into turn 4 as he's done before, but he decides against it. Brakes early as we see Daniel go very wide into Schlossgold. But it's not going to cost him that much, although Luke is having a cheeky look down the inside, but not for a real opportunity to overtake him. Yeah, for now, Mikolai Nowicki, definitely fastest driver out there on track. He wants to catch Patrick Dakmeyer and Akapulkinen as quickly as possible. Let's not forget Patrick. He was within that fight between the top 6. Was a bit further away at the race start with a great strategy. He's now worked his way up what is P9, but with drivers up ahead, likely still to come in unless these medium runners are going to stay out. But the longer they stay out, the more likely it is. If they don't come in the next 2 laps, I don't see them coming in. I don't see them coming in at all then. And that means they potentially have to defend. Ooh, late move by the Ferrari. That is Noe Grosjean on the inside. But has to let Alu go. Can't go for the move just yet. And Jay Kennedy is looking to have a say in that. But look at that. He, because he's on the hards, has the better rubber at this point. The better tire life in there. Because those hards are going to last longer. So if he stays out, that might be a great opportunity for him to try and go for the race win. Because if we look further behind, the gap to Patrick Dackmeyer, Sakapulkin has been overtaken by 2, is still over 10 seconds. And with the DRS leapfrog up ahead, it might mean that these drivers up ahead, if they don't hit the cliff, have gone with a right call by going for a very long stint on mediums. This is going to be a fight of strategies because the drivers that come in for a second pit stop, they have to catch up as quickly as possible and do so by over a second a lap. And it doesn't seem to be like they are doing so at the moment. So not good news for them. As we look at Mikolaj Nowicki, saved a bit of ERS, but he will want to go past Patrick Dackmeyer. Has a look down the inside. That is tight. They bump a little bit. They bump wheels. There's no damage. Clean moves. And look at that. Round the outside. Akapulkinen, but with some ERS. Oh, what? That is a crazy move by Akapulkinen. I think he went over the grass there. Doing a little bit of a, I think Vettel or Kimi. Well, Kimi's been pushed out before, but I think around that spot we've had, is it Vettel? Was it one of the Mercedes drivers who've been pushed out there before? But not, that was around the right side. This is around the left side. That is one hell of a move by Aka, but he knows he needs to stay within range of Mikolaj Nowicki, otherwise there's no way he is going to get that race win. And Mikolaj definitely stepping up the pace. He is getting closer and closer to Raymond up ahead. That gap now 2.2 seconds. I think by the start of next lap, lap 31, he's going to be within DRS range. But then it's another 3.5 to Herman, another 2.5 to Jay, and then all the other drivers to overtake. So it might be too little too late for them if they don't catch by enough. And also no ERS until he gets to the back of Raymond. So that is not going to be easy for him. But our top 5, ladies and gentlemen, within a second. Within a second, the top 5. That is extraordinary. Although 2 drivers will see 3 seconds added to their name. Let's take a look at the full penalties here tonight. For most of our drivers, it's 3 seconds as Thomas Grard has fallen back a little bit. He's got 3 seconds to his name together with Silly Sly Guy, Raymond Neat, Jay Kennedy, and Noe Grosjean. And 6 seconds to Herman Polyakov, who unfortunately already picked one up after turn 1 of lap 2, which was quite early on. Now Mikolaj Nowicki has closed the gap to Raymond Neat up ahead, but knows round the next turn, heading into Remmers, he needs to overtake Raymond. He needs to use ERS now. He's using ERS. Raymond has no DRS, and indeed down the inside Mikolaj goes. But this is the move that he needed to make. Now he needs to keep on going. It's another 5 seconds until he gets to the back of Jay Kennedy. And then he still has 5 more drivers to overtake. 6 more at this position if he wants to get the race win. Thomas Grard has come in. He likely wants to go for fastest lap tonight. In the meantime, Akapulkinen and Patrick Dackmeyer have gone by Raymond and Neat, so they stay within DRS of Mikolaj, so they can just let him pull, or, well, cut the wind, so to speak, and pull themselves alongside him. The gap to Herman, 2.2 seconds, so by next lap, DRS will be activated, and they will need to hurry up. Jay Kennedy is still taking his time, but I think he also knows there's not too much to gain with that time penalty. Does need to get by Noe Grosjean. As further up ahead, Luke Walstow as a race lead for time being ahead of Daniel Gottschalk. And we have a little bit of fighting going on there. But by how much? by how much there is some DRS into play. There is some DRS here, but no overtake into Schlossgold as Ake Pulkkinen and Mikolai Nowicki are fighting, and it means that Ake has actually gone ahead of Mikolai. This is going to be tense because the two drivers are fighting now means they won't get too much closer to Herman, and they need to be within DRS range by start finish. So another 3 tenths they need to gain. Another 10th left to go. Use your ERS here. He's now within a second. Now within a second of Herman, which means down the main straight you can close the gap. And down into Remus, turn 3, you can go for the overtake. You need to do this quickly. You need to do this as quickly as possible, because otherwise you won't have time left to overtake the other 5. Here we go then. A lot of ERS saved for Ake. That is good strategy by him. Good management of his battery. And indeed down the inside. Oh, he stays behind. He decides to go for the move down the second DRS zone. As Jay Kennedy's gotten past Alu. Alu's fallen back a little bit. And as Thomas Guard takes the fastest lap, yeah, Ake now. This is the gap that you need to cut down. 3 seconds. 3 seconds. And when we come around start finish, there will be 4 laps to go. This is going to be tight. And I'm not sure if it's going to be enough for Ake to get past all the drivers. Went for the 2-stop. Went for it around the right moment. Couldn't have done it much later. Well, definitely not later. Maybe a lap sooner. But I think this is around the area where you want to do it. Daniel Gottschalk now holds the race lead. Gap now. Alu to Ake. 1.9. Needs to close that gap by the end of next lap. Then he's got 2 laps to overtake 5 drivers who are all within DRS range. But is that going to be enough? He has a lot of ERS, and that might be his lifesaver. As we take a final moment to hydrate, we are ready for the final few laps to ensue. It's actually 2 more laps after the end of this. And the gap 1.3, 1.2, 1.1, 1.0. Within DRS range, it's only 9, 7 tenths, 6 tenths now. Look how much he gains through that middle sector. And he's on the back, hot on the tail of Jay Kennedy. Will need to use ERS and needs to pick him up one by one. And this is already a move, much better exit. Round turn 10, down the inside of Jay Kennedy. It's 4 more drivers to go and 2 laps to do it. We have yellow in sector 3. That's a slow driving Mercedes. As Silly Sly Guy, he comes in, he's likely going to retire. But now then, has to make a move. Some defending by the Ferrari driver. He's gonna go for a switchback. Gonna go for it. No, he's not. He's gonna go around the outside. Knows he's got the better tire life, and Ake has gone fast to P4. Use your ERS now, Ake. Down the inside of Alu and makes his way into P3. This is starting to look very good for Ake Pulkkinen. And Mikolai Nowicki hasn't been able to cut through as swiftly as the Alfa Romeo driver. And with 2 drivers still to overtake, it's starting to look great for Alu. The drivers up ahead are through their tires. It'll be so hard for them to defend. And with Ake also having quite a bit of ERS left, that's about 57% if we see that right on his steering wheel. That might be enough as we have yellow in sector 2. That is one of the Williams drivers. That is Raymond de Niet. He's driving slowly. He of course can't see a safety car anymore. Oh, he stopped. He stopped out there on track. Yellow in sector 3, but here we go. This has to be the move for Ake Pulkkinen if he wants to get the race win. Daniel Gottschalk is gearing up to Luke Walsall as well. Is he going to try and take them both? He's not. He's going to wait. He buys his time. Now, better exit. More power. Earlier on the throttle. Drivers up ahead fighting tooth to nail. Can you go by both? Can you go by both? Round the outside's the way to go. A little bit of a slide. Switchback. Switchback by Ake Pulkkinen. This is the final lap. And does he make it stick round the outside of Luke Walsall? Oh, there's contact. There's contact between Daniel Gottschalk and Luke Walso. Something will be said about that. Here comes Mikolaj Nowicki. Our 3 championship protagonists all caught in one view. But there has been contact. Daniel's got no front wing. Stuff will be said about that, but not about a race winner. Perfect strategy by Aka. And he wins around Spielberg. The other drivers now come round. Daniel's in P2, Mikolaj Nowicki P3, Luke Walso P4. If our results are confirmed as they are, we have a championship winner. But it is very likely we're going to see an investigation into that move by Daniel. And if he gets time added to his tally, he is going to drop down the order significantly. If he gets 5 seconds, he is going to drop to P7. And that means that Mikolaj and Luke are well within a chance to still take that championship win in our final race. So, very, very curious to see. Oh, this is what happened to Raymond. Raymond got a puncture when it was at 80%. So he took that car too long. Mikolaj saying sorry to Luke. Maybe there was a little bit of contact between them. But what I am most curious about was that contact between the drivers that were in P2, Daniel Gottschalk and Luke Walso. But it is the race win for Aka Pulkkinen. Great race by the Alfa Romeo driver. What a strategy as well. Great opportunistic overtaking moves. And great, don't forget that, the ERS management is what got him across the line. He had the most ERS remaining. Use it wisely to go for the overtakes as fast as he could. And had enough left at the last lap and the fresher tires to take it. So after a pole position, it's a race win for Aka Pulkkinen. As it stands, it is P2 for Daniel Gottschalk, then Mikolaj Nowicki, Luke Walso in the Haas, Alu P5, followed by Patrick Dachmeyer, Noé Grosjean, Jay Kennedy, Tomas Kokeni, and Akim Lai in P10. Then outside the top 10, we find Goji, Carson F1, Herman Polyakov, Thomas Grard, Silly Sly Guy, Raymond Denitz, Frank Turner, Daniel Baumgartner, finally Maciej Lutinsky. But I am looking, Marko Gurczyk wasn't here, which means that after this race, Mercedes is likely going to extend their lead, is at least going to make sure that Red Bull is going to be... Are they out? If there is a penalty to Daniel Gottschalk, the constructor standings will still be between 3 drivers, and the title itself will not be decided. If there are no further penalties, we have a championship winner in Daniel Gottschalk, and the constructors yet to be fought out between Mercedes and Haas, although Mercedes is going to have a lead of almost 30 points, so that is going to be very, very hard to overtake in that final race. But definitely something is going to be said about that last lap. But hats off to our race winner, Aka Pulkkinen. What a great performance by him. And yeah, Aka Pulkkinen, under the name of Pulkis, he had 50 points to his name. He's going to step up. Is actually going to level himself with Silly Sly Guy in the championship. He had 5 DNFs to his name already. And yeah, tonight's race definitely didn't help either. So in the races that he did score, at least a P4, 1 race win and a P2. But too many races, unfortunately, for him that he didn't score. The other drivers more consistent. Mikolaj Nowicki missing out on 1 race where he couldn't participate. 1 race scoreless and 1 race win and 3 further podiums. For Luke Walso, P2 in the championship, he missed out on points in Mexico, which was a horrible weekend for him, with also the sprint race, 0 points for him. But a race win, a P2, and 3 further P3s means that he has done very well up until now, and maybe a podium is going to follow after we see a penalty to Daniel. But Daniel, who's leading the championship, had a DNF in Monaco. That was a race weekend to forget for Mercedes with a double DNF. But outside of that, 2 P2s and 2 race wins. And most importantly, 3 P5s that have, P4s, sorry, have put him in the position where he is now. Now, a very exciting end to the race here tonight. And yeah, as I said, I think it's a little bit too early to call it here. I think there's definitely going to be some inquiries into what happened the final few laps involving the championship competitor, so Daniel, Luke, and Mikolai. So we cannot confirm a championship just yet, but likely we'll be able to do so next week on Monday. So what are we waiting for? It's next week, Monday, the season finale in China around the Shanghai International Circuit. So definitely make sure to be out there for that. As in the meantime, we have 2 drivers waiting for our interviews. So that is going to be interesting. I'm going to jump onto Discord. I'm first going to have a little bit of a word with Golgi, who finished P11 here tonight. As the first driver we have in the commentary box, we have Golgi after a qualifying which just left him outside the top 10, a P11 during the race. First off, how was quali?
Quali wasn't actually too bad. I didn't really do loads of practice, and I had a good first lap out when the track dried, so it wasn't too bad, but I think it could have been a bit better. But
did you expect any rain to come out at the start of the session? Because for me, in the commentary box was quite a surprise.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised, to be honest. I saw it and I thought it's going to be like the rain was going to come at the end of the session and everyone's going to rush out and do one lap, but that wasn't the case, so it took me a bit off. So.
All right, and then the race start, how did that go for you?
Race start was actually pretty good. I think it was the second lap I made up 4 positions to turn 3 in a quite nice move. And yeah, it was just kept it clean until the safety car came out. So.
Yeah, and then when the safety car came out, you went for quite the offset strategy where some drivers decided to go for a one-stop. While some other drivers went for 2 medium-long stints. You decided to go for an even different strategy coming out on the softs. How did your strategy pan out?
I decided to go for the softs because I had a new set and I just wanted to try something different. Because I was running a bit further back, just outside the point, so I was just thinking, try something. Initially worked out quite well, but then then the tyres fell off. I think I should have pitted 1 or 2 laps earlier to go into the mediums, and then just wasn't as confident on the medium tyre, and then just I just wasn't able to catch the back of the pack for the point in time, and I only had like 1 lap to battle, so it was a bit unfortunate.
That was a bit unfortunate indeed, but overall, with your race performance, are you happy?
Yeah, I'd say so. Didn't have the most practice in the world, but it may not be points, but I had a good time. I had a good few battles, so I'm happy with that.
That is good to hear. Now, you still find yourself P17 in the standings for the time being, at least before this race. I'm not sure if that's going to change a little bit after points are handed out after tonight. With one more race on the calendar, next week, Shanghai. What are your hopes or dreams for that race?
Dreams would obviously be to win, but I don't think that's going to happen, sadly. But I would like to end the season with a points finish, if that's possible. If I'm able to get one or more points, I'll be happy to end the season with that. And yeah.
All right, that's good to hear. Well, as always, it's very nice to have you in the commentary box for the almost regular interviews they're becoming now. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll see you next week again, and we'll do a little bit of a season recap if you'd like.
Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah, thank you, man.
All right, thank you for tuning in. Then we have another driver waiting in the commentary box. I just saw Polkis was waiting there as well, but he has dropped out. The other driver that is waiting there is the man who is leading the championship. That is Daniel Gottschalk, and we will be questioning him a little bit about what happened in that final lap. But let's move him in and see what he has to tell us. So now in the commentary box for a second interview for tonight. The first time I get to interview the man is the man that is leading the championship, Daniel Gottschalk.
Yo, what's up?
Well, I'm doing great. It was a very exciting race to watch with a lot of different strategies out there altogether. But before we're going to go to the race, first off, quali. How was quali?
Yeah, quali was a bit it was a bit struggle because on the start of the quali it was wet weather conditions, and I know it's going to dry at the end, but I don't know on which time. That's why I don't drive out on the soft tires in the wet conditions because I don't want to go DNF. Yeah. But yeah, quali was overall quite good. 3.1. Maybe not the best lap, but yeah, I'm happy with that.
All right, that is great to hear. And then the race, well, the race started. You had a lot of fights going on until that first safety car session. Did that change your plans in terms of strategy at all?
Yeah, a bit. I wanted to try to drive with the mediums until the end, but I didn't expect that the safety car goes so early back to the pits. That's why it was a hard decision to go in or not. And I stayed out because Luke stayed out too, and I think he was my biggest championship decider.
Yeah, indeed. Heading into this race, there were two drivers that you were fighting with, both Luke Walso, Mikalainen Wiki, and 27 points behind you. So that meant that if you could keep them behind you, you would seal the deal there for the title tonight. You did finish in front of both of them, but there was a little bit of contact heading into corner 5. That was Rauk on the final lap together with Luke Walsto. We didn't see exactly what happened, apart from some bodywork flying around, but can you explain what happened?
Luke tries to go on the inside with Pulkis, but I think he braked a little bit too late. That's why he spun around and I'm driving into his front tires. Yeah, and that's why I got a red ring. And yeah, I only tries to bring it home, and yeah, it works.
Yeah, you did finish up ahead of them, and indeed, if after the inquiries there is not going to be a penalty handed to you, that means that with one race to go, we have a championship winner, and that's in the name of you, Daniel. So, might be a bit premature, but we're going to call it anyways. If not, we can confirm it next week. But already, congratulations, man.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
I mean, we can already look back on the season a little bit, even though we still have a race to go. How did the season go for you so far?
Yeah, I don't have the every results right now, but I think the start of the season was yeah not so good for me. But after I won Mexico and Portugal, I was very confident to drive the last 3 races, and yeah, I think I had a good pace on the second half of the season, and yeah, that's maybe why I won the championship.
Yeah, if we look at the season results, I have them in front of me, so let me just quickly take you through them. So the first round in Bahrain, it was a P4, 12 points to your name. And in Silverstone, you took it to P2, which meant that you were right up there when Silly Sly was still leading the championship. Then, of course, in Monaco was a weekend for you to forget with a DNF as well as your teammate. Can you reflect on Monaco a little bit, how that went?
Yeah, that I think on a good race, but yeah, one time I lost the concentration, and that's why, yeah, I lost the race.
Well, that can always happen, of course. And then we went to our double races out there in the States. First 2 points for you, then another fourth place result, and also in Singapore, a fourth place. And then after that, yeah, it were the weekends for you to remember. In the sprint race, Mexico P2, a win in Mexico, a win in Portugal, a P2 last week out in Belgium, and then tonight, a provisional P2 and a championship deciding race for you as well. That indeed was the strong second half that you were talking about. But if you look back, which of those races was the best?
Yeah, maybe the best race was actually Portugal because I don't make any mistakes, and yeah, was a perfect race for me. I don't get any warnings or something like that, and yeah, I think was a bit better than Mexico because in Mexico my teammate got a disconnect, and that's the only reason why I got the P1. But in Portugal, I think it was only because I'm driving the race of my life.
Oh, right. Yeah, we of course had a little bit of rain at the end, didn't we?
Ah, yeah, true. I'm driving to lap 24 on mediums and then pits to inters, right?
I
think.
believe so, yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy strategy. Yeah.
Well, it worked out perfectly for you. And yeah, with one race still to go, what are your ambitions for next week race in Shanghai?
Yeah, I think I only want to bring it home this season. I'm maybe not risk everything in the race, but yeah, driving the last race home and have fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's still something to fight for in the constructor standings that is not yet sealed for you guys, but the gap that you have over to Haas is about 30 points. So, yeah, a small point finish would already be enough to also seal the constructor standings. Is that something that you're still fighting for?
Yeah, I think that's another good achievement. I hope my teammates score more points next week, because yeah, I really want to win the championship. That's when I won 2 championships. That would be much better than only one championship.
Okay, and then my final question for you tonight. We're now approaching the end of season 16, but what are your ambitions heading on to season 17?
Yeah, I think maybe I got promoted to tier 3 and then trying to drive my best, but I think my pace is at the moment not enough for the championship. Maybe had a good season, a few maybe podiums, and yeah, maybe have fun with the last season of this game.
That's great to hear. All right, well, thank you very much for joining into the commentary box. Ladies and gentlemen, your championship winner for Mercedes, Daniel Gottschalk. So that is going to be it for tonight, folks. I hope you enjoyed the racing out there tonight. Yeah, I think it's pretty safe already, though, that we can call Daniel as our championship winner. Of course, we still have some inquiries into the race results, but by hearing what was going on, let's see. Yeah, we do have an inquiry onto Mikkelina Wiki by Luke Walso, but it looks like Luke is not seeking to have any sorts of inquiries into the contact that he had with Daniel. And yeah, I think for Daniel it doesn't matter too much. Even though he did have damage, it didn't end up costing him any positions. So that likely means that we are, well, of course, the confirmation, the full 100% confirmation will come out there tonight, or not tonight, but next week when we head to Shanghai. But for now, I think we can say for about 99% sure that our championship winner is Daniel Gottschalk, and what a great season that he can reflect on. 2 race wins, 3 further podiums in P2s, and also a podium, a P2 in the sprint race around Mexico. And I think if we look back, Mexico really is the race where he took out the most points and where he managed to leapfrog Luke Walso, because Luke Walso had a horror weekend there with contact up in the sprint race. Meant that in the sprint race, in the main race, he scored 0 points, where Daniel scored 32. And if they scored the same amount of points there, then the championship would be pretty much tied between the two. So that weekend is why Daniel is up ahead, and that weekend is why he is your WR PC Tier 4 champion. That's going to be it for tonight as well. Thank you very much for tuning in with me tonight. My name is Mitsky, and next week we're going to be back at 8 p.m. British time, 9 p.m. Central European time with our season finale. We are then going out to the Shanghai International Circuit in China. Thanks for tuning in, and see you then. Good night.